children. Hope you all are doing very good. For the next academic year, we will start with a new chapter in science, matter in our surroundings. Before we get into the session, I expect you all to note down the points, keywords, definitions from the video, and so that you can answer all the questions and assignment at the end of the chapter. So in this session, what are the things that we are going to learn? Characteristics of particles of matter, states of matter that you are very familiar with, effect of temperature and pressure on matter. So what is matter? Anything that occupies a space and has mass is called as matter. So space can be replaced with the term volume. So can you give some examples of matter? All the things around us, most of the things around us can be considered as matter. Board, pen, table, chair, all these things occupy space and has mass? Yes. So they are called as matter. But are there anything that does not occupy space and has mass? So can we think about shadow, light, sound that we hear? All these things do not occupy space. Therefore, they are considered as non-matter. When we say characteristics of matter, it can be studied in two different ways. That is chemical properties and physical properties. When we say chemical properties, what is it chemically composed of? So that we will study in subsequent chapters. In this chapter, we will learn physical properties of matter. When we say physical properties, we will just consider this small activity wherein we will take 3 beakers. We will name it as 1, 2 and 3. Let the beakers be filled with water. We will drop ink in the first beaker. We will drop copper sulfate solution into this second beaker and honey into the third beaker. So what happens after some time when we drop all these things into the particular beakers? So what are the changes that we can see? We can see that there will be a color change in the beakers. The water color changes in the first one because we have dropped either red or blue. You drop either red or blue, that particular ink color will be changed in the water. Copper sulfate is blue in color. So when we drop copper sulfate solution into the water, even the water color changes to blue. Whereas honey, there will not be much change in the color of the water. What happens to the level of the water? This is the level. After we mix another matter into that, will there be any increase in the level of the water? We cannot see any change in the level of the water. What could be the reason? That's where comes into picture the characteristics of matter. What is matter composed of? Matter is composed of particles. Matter is composed of particles. Particles are continuously moving. They have intermolecular space. Intermolecular space between them. They also have force of attraction between them. So what do we see from this activity? The particles of ink was dissolved in the particles of water. Therefore, we couldn't see the change in the level of water because the intermixing of the particles of two different matter is called as diffusion. What is diffusion? When two different matter is intermixed, the particles occupy the space between them. This process is called as diffusion. So what are the characteristics of particles? They are continuously moving. They are continuously moving because they possess kinetic energy. And the space, the intermolecular space between them helps them in the process of diffusion. There is also force of attraction between the particles of the matter. How do we can see this with an example. When you turn on the tap of water, what happens? We see a stream of water running through, and if you try to cut the stream of water with a finger, we will not be able to cut it because there is a force of attraction between the particles. So these are the characteristics of particles of matter. Coming to states of matter, What are the different states of matter? You all have learned in the previous classes, solid, liquid and gas. What are the properties of solid, liquid and gas? We will just recall them. How is the shape of the solid? Is it definite? It has a very definite shape. What about liquid? It has indefinite shape. And gas also has an indefinite shape. What about volume? Solid occupies a definite volume. What about liquid? Liquid also occupies a definite volume. What about gas? It does not occupy a definite volume, so it is indefinite. What about IMS? Intermolecular space between the particles of the solid. It is very intact, so there is a very small space between the particles of the solid. So it is minimum space, whereas in liquid, they do have some space better than solid. So it has moderate intermolecular space. In gas, they freely move. Particles in the gas freely move. So they have maximum space, intermolecular space. What about the force of attraction between the particles of solid? It is maximum. That is why it is held intact. In liquid, it is moderate. Whereas in gas, how is the force of attraction between the particles? It is minimum. That is why they freely move. What about compressibility? Can we compress a solid? Not much. For example, duster or the wood. Can we compress the wood? We cannot see much change in compressing the wood. It remains the same. Whereas in liquid, can we compress the liquid? To some extent. It is moderate. But we can compress the gas to a very high level. So these are the properties of solid, liquid and gas. So to see what is the effect of temperature on matter, we will consider a small activity. We will take the example of heating the ice. We will take some ice in a beaker and we will heat it. So effect of temperature means we need to provide heat, right? Therefore there will be a change in the temperature. So we will apply heat so that there will be a change in the temperature. This is ice. What happens when we heat the ice? The ice will start melting. How does this ice start melting? The particles of the ice, when heated, it acquires more kinetic energy and they start moving faster. Once they start moving faster, the intermolecular space and the force of attraction, they lose the force of attraction and the intermolecular space increases. We have seen that if the intermolecular space increases, the solid gets converted to liquid. That's how the ice gets converted to liquid. Here we see ice water. So, what is this melting point? The temperature at which the ice starts melting, the solid starts melting is called as a melting point. Now, let's redefine what is melting point. The temperature at which a given solid starts melting is called as a melting point. What happens to the ice water? We continue to heat. Now it is in the liquid form. Once all the ice melts, it is now in the liquid form. What happens to the ice water? Again, the temperature increases and the intermolecular space increases. The force of attraction reduces. The liquid will get converted to vapor. Before the ice water gets converted to vapor or the gas form, what is it going through? Boiling. The ice water has to boil, and the temperature at which the water boils or the liquid boils is called as a boiling point. What is the boiling point of water? We all know it is 100 degrees Celsius, and the melting point of ice will be 0 degrees Celsius. So we can redefine what is the boiling point, the temperature at which a given liquid starts boiling. Here the term starts is important. Okay, here what do we see that? So therefore, when we increase or decrease the temperature of a matter, it changes its state from solid liquid to gas, or from gas liquid to solid, whether we increase or decrease the temperature. Here we will come back to the experiment once again. So what happens to the ice at its melting point? Once it starts melting, the temperature is maintained. Even you continuously provide the heat, once the ice starts melting, it maintains the temperature. But what happens to the heat which is given? It is hidden in the ice and it is called as latent heat. Latent means hidden. So the heat which is hidden in the ice is called as a latent heat of fusion. Melting is also termed as fusion and boiling is termed as vaporization. So we will define what is latent heat of fusion. The amount of heat required to convert 1 kg of solid to liquid at its atmospheric pressure and at its melting point is called as latent heat of fusion. Similarly, we also see latent heat of vaporization here. And how do we define latent heat of vaporization? The amount of heat required to convert 1 kg of liquid to gas at its atmospheric pressure and at its boiling point. Just like temperature, an increase or decrease of pressure on matter will also change its state. We will see an example, dry ice, which is nothing but solid carbon dioxide. How is solid carbon dioxide stored? It is stored in a very high pressure, then only it is in the form of solid. Once the pressure is decreased, it gets converted to gas directly. Solid carbon dioxide gets converted to gas directly without going through the liquid state, and this is called as sublimation. So dry ice or solid carbon dioxide is one of the examples for sublimately matter. There are other examples like naphthalene, camphor. So you all know camphor, karpura, when it is exposed to air, it is directly evaporated into gas, right? So there is no liquid form for that. So dry ice, naphthalene, camphor, they are all examples for sublimatory matter. So what is the effect of pressure on matter? Very similar to temperature. When we increase that pressure, here in case of dry ice, it is converted to solid. When we reduce the pressure, it is converted to gas. When it is increased, it was in solid state, and from solid to gas, it is directly getting converted, and that's why it is called as sublimation process. There is one more example where we can see the effect of pressure. Our LPG cylinders, liquefied petroleum gas, what happens in those cylinders? We use them for cooking, right? So what happens in those cylinders? And at high pressure, butane is stored as liquid. Once we reduce the pressure, when we release the pressure, this liquid is converted to gas. Here, it is not a sublimation process, but it is the effect of pressure. We will summarize the entire interconversion of states of matter into a small flow chart. When a solid is melted, it is converted to liquid. We call that as fusion. When a liquid is converted to gas, we call that as vaporization. When a gas is converted to solid directly without going through the liquid state, we have seen that it is sublimation. Similarly, when the solid is getting converted to gas, it is sublimation. We saw dry ice as an example here. When the gas is converted to liquid, it is condensation. When the water vapors are condensed when the temperature reduces. When the liquid is converted back to solid, it is called as solidification. So far we have seen the effect of temperature and pressure on different states of matter, how they convert from one state to another. So what happens when the water is boiling? It changes from liquid state to vapor. But what happens to water if it is poured on a table and left for many hours? After many hours you come and check whether the water is there on the table. If you touch the surface of the table, it will be cool but there is no water. So what has happened to the water which was poured there? It is evaporated. So what is the process of evaporation? What happens during evaporation? During evaporation, the surface particles of the liquid acquire more kinetic energy than the particles which are beneath. Therefore, they lose the force of attraction between them and they change the state to gas and they become vapor. And also the particles of the liquid absorb energy from the surroundings and leave the place surface cool. During summer, what happens? During summer we perspire or sweat out. We prefer to wear cotton clothes during summer. So why is that? Because cotton clothes have a high absorbing capacity. They absorb all the sweat and evaporate it, leaving the surface cool. Therefore, we prefer to wear cotton clothes during summer. So we end this chapter with a small note on temperature scale. What is the SI unit of temperature? It is Kelvin. 1 degree Celsius is equal to 273 Kelvin. It is actually 273.15, but we round it up to 273 Kelvin. So to convert from Celsius to Kelvin, we just add 273 to it. For example, convert 23 degrees Celsius to Kelvin. What do? 23 plus 273 will give you 296 Kelvin. With this we end this chapter. Please note down these questions, answer them. You get all the answers from the video or you can refer the textbook. Thank you, children.